It's kind of a super light news week this week, so instead I'm doing something a little different. Let's take a deep dive into my most anticipated game of next January, Resident Evil 2. A remake of Resident Evil 2 has been at the top of the RE fan wish list since 2002, and that wish has abruptly turned into a reality. Sure, Capcom low-key announced development of the game back in 2015, but after that they went radio silent. Without so much as a screenshot since then, one would be forgiven for assuming that the project had been quietly cancelled like so many vaporware games before it. Instead, Capcom came out swinging at E3 this year with a surprise trailer, a playable demo, and a release date. The game is currently available for pre-order on the PC, Xbox One, and PS4. So let's dive in and take a look at how everything old is new again in Raccoon City. For starters, it appears that the remake is going to begin a bit earlier than the original, with what seems to be a gameplay section at a store on the outskirts of the city. Presumably, this is where rookie cop Leon S. Kennedy encounters his first zombie as it chows down on a poor Arklay County Sheriff's deputy. As a side note, this sheriff's uniform will be an alternate Leon costume for those who splurge for the deluxe edition of the game. Heading into Raccoon City itself, the place is looking appropriately destroyed, with a familiar maze of cars presumably there to impede your way to the police station. One can only wonder what new obstacles will be found as you hoof it through the city streets. Inside the Raccoon City police station, things are looking the same but different. The receptionist desk is at the front of the hall instead of the rear for one thing, which makes a lot more sense if you think about it. Behind the desk, the goddess statue is still the centerpiece of the main hall, though this time it seems to serve a larger purpose than simply holding a key in a jar. It looks like one of the main objectives of the game will be finding 3 medallions to put into the statue that'll unlock a secret path out of the building. Of course, the biggest difference in the main hall is that instead of needing an emergency ladder to get to the second floor, there's now a dual staircase, reminiscent of the classic Spencer Mansion. I presume these are blocked off at the start, but I doubt that'll last. In another big departure, this is where you'll meet our good friend Officer Marvin Brenna, who will have an expanded role in the early game rather than just giving you a keycard and telling you to get lost before locking you out of his office. Other areas of the police station are equally familiar. Here we have the eastern office area, where you should remember fighting 6 zombies with really bad camera angles. Just next door, the press conference room returns as well. On the other side of the police station, lickers are back, but while there's evidence of that classic first licker in the northwest hallway, it seems that the actual encounter has been moved elsewhere. Speaking of, the hallway outside the STARS office has been faithfully recreated as well, if a little underlit, and also I don't remember that particular ceiling decoration from the first game. But while most of this new map is familiar, there are some obvious additions. This police station now has bathrooms for starters, which is just one of the several new areas to explore, so don't expect knowledge of the previous game to carry you through this one. The police station isn't the only place getting an expansion either. I have no idea what this building could be. It kind of looks like the church from Resident Evil 3, but that would almost be asking too much, wouldn't it? As for other characters, of course Claire Redfield is back with her own slightly updated look. I presume the back of her jacket still says Made in Heaven though. As another side note, one of Claire's alternate costumes in the deluxe edition will be an Elza Walker outfit, a reference to the original female lead for Resident Evil 2 before the game was scrapped and rebuilt late in development. And while certain game mechanics from the original have been adapted for the remake, one of its most distinguishing elements has been left out. It looks like character zapping won't be making the cut this time around. The original Resident Evil 2 had 2 campaigns for each character, with minor variations depending on the order that you played them. In the remake, there will still be a Leon and a Claire campaign, but it will no longer matter which one you do first. It'll be interesting to see which elements they decide to draw from each campaign to finally settle that RE2 canon. Right off the bat, it's apparent that Leon will be the one approaching the police station from the front, while Claire comes in from the rear. Here's Leon and Claire meeting near the fire escape near the rear of the building, complete with a recently crashed helicopter, though it looks like they may be inconveniently separated by that gate, which would be typical, of course. Claire will naturally still be accompanying a young Sherry Birkin, who looks even younger now than she did in the original, but hopefully doesn't get winded quite so easily anymore. That's one gameplay element that can stay in the 90s. And if you look close, Sherry's still got that locket around her neck. Spoiler alert, the G-Virus is inside. We also get the quickest of glimpses of Ada Wong, presumably meeting Leon for the first time in the police garage. And while Leon is hanging out with Ada, it looks like Chief Irons will still be creeping out Claire. We don't get to see him in the trailer, but we do get a glimpse of the mayor's daughter, who doesn't look like she fares any better in this game than she did in the last one. And of course, who could forget about good old Mr. X? This trenchcoat wearing tyrant is back to search for the G-Virus and is now sporting a spiffy new hat. Looks like Mr. X definitely has an encounter with Claire at some point, but it might not go the way you expect. Certainly not the way he expected. Are those the claws of William Birkin, or something else entirely? On the gameplay side of things, while the remake is shifting from the classic static camera angles to the over-the-shoulder style camera of Resident Evil 4 through 6, don't expect the same action-heavy set pieces that defined the latter half of the series. In an interview with Rely on Horror, producer Tsuyoshi Kanata stated that the game is still going to focus on exploration with a Metroidvania style of gameplay. Resources are scarce, enemies don't drop ammo, and it seems there will be a fair amount of item gating. So we probably won't be seeing knife fights or boulder punching QTEs out of this game. And that's most of what I've gleaned out of the first footage of the game, but there's doubtlessly a lot more on the way. Resident Evil 2 comes out on January 25th, 2019. Until then, maybe kill some time with some television. Season 3 of Preacher starts tonight on AMC, and The End of the World continues on CBS as Salvation starts up its second season. For the kids, Season 2 of Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure starts up this week on the Disney Channel, and a classic returns as Double Dare slimes a new generation on Nickelodeon. Over in video games, from the developers of Life is Strange comes The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit. You'd have to be crazy to try and sell a new game during the Steam Summer Sale, but Square Enix found a way around that by giving away the first episode for free. For our RPG Maker Game of the Week, Booker's Underground Chapter looks like one of the more elaborately designed games in the genre. Unfortunately, the developer didn't put the same amount of effort into hiding the mouse cursor when making the trailer. And for Tower Defense, Dungeon Warfare 2 trades the usual armies and aliens for some fantasy elements and some trap-heavy maze building. For multi-platform releases, Luminous Remastered is headed for the PC, PS4, Xbox, and Switch this week if you're looking for a hypnotic puzzle game. And breaking free of Sony's limited exclusivity is Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy, hitting the PC, Xbox, and Switch. On the Switch itself, it's still a pretty big week. Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is getting its Donkey Kong-themed DLC. And for indie titles, Airmail is a cute little flight game that has you dropping off various goods in a pretty sweet-looking world. For something less sweet-looking, Limbo is getting a Switch release this week, along with its spiritual successor, Inside, for double the scared child platforming action in the palms of your hands. Paranautical Activity is also headed for the Switch if you're up for some voxel-based horror, and it's not the only third-party shooter getting a port this week. Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus arrives on the Switch for all the Nazi-killing action the little system can handle, which is about 30 frames per second worth. Wrapping things up with this week's awesome video, we still have a few weeks until Sonic Mania Plus, but you can get in the mood with the latest episode of Sonic Mania Adventures, introducing Mighty and Ray against the evil Metal Sonic. That's everything for this week, so what's your favorite Resident Evil game? Let me know in the comments. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and have a great week!